Hello everyone. Today we'll discuss the poem To the Nile by John Keats. So, John Keats is one of the key figures in the Romantic movement which emphasized the beauty of nature, emotion, and imagination. To the Nile reflects these ideas but also presents a more reflective approach to the natural world. Also, being this poem written in 1818, To the Nile is a part of Keats' sonnets. So the Nile is a symbol of ancient civilization and a source of fascination in Europe. So it is explored in this poem as both an idealized and a realistic image of nature. So considering the ancient Egypt, so this is significant because the River Nile is an Egyptian civilization, and the 19th century context is fascinated with ancient cultures during Keats' time. So now we'll discuss, we'll read the poem first and analyze line by line. So let me read the poem first. Son of the old moon mountains African, chief of the pyramid and crocodile. We call thee fruitful, and that very wide. The desert fills our zings inward span, nurse of swart nations since the world began. Art thou so fruitful, or dost thou beguile such men to honor thee, who, worn with toil, rest for a space twixt Cairo and decay? O may dark fancies err, they surely do. 'Tis ignorance that makes a barren waste. Of all beyond itself thou dost be deep, green rushes like our rivers, and dost taste, and the pleasant sunrise. Green isles hast thou too, and to the sea as happily dost haste. So, as you can see, the language is a bit different, but you try to understand what does this mean. So, some of the old moon mountains African, right? So, old moon mountains African. So, then the sun is the River Nile. So, as you can see in these pictures, so these pictures depicts the ancient civilization and how people use the river as a source of income and it's a part of their life actually. So let's understand the poem. So chief of the pyramid and crocodile. So pyramids, it's also a part of that civilization, and crocodile, the part of the river. We call they fruitful. Oh, obviously it's fruitful, and that very wild. A desert fills our sinks inward span. So then kids also discusses about the desert, right? So which is also an important landscape structure in African continent, right? So then nurse of swart nations since the world began. So it says nurse of swart nations since the world began. So it has nourishes different eras, different people, different civilizations, maybe. We don't know. Such men to honor thee. So those people honor you. Who torn with toil. So people have worked hard. Maybe it's related to agriculture or other industries, but people have worked hard. So then rest for a space twixt Cairo and Deccan. So these are platoons, right? So yes. So then many tongue fancies of they surely do. 'Tis ignorance that makes a barren waste of all beyond itself. Thou dost pity. Green rushes like our rivers. So see how the prosperity of the river and also the civilizations. So this green rushes depicts that prosperous nature and just taste the pleasant sunrise. Green isles hast thou too, and to the sea as happily dost taste. So you are going to the sea, but like during that journey to the sea, the river serves a lot of people, not only people but the nature and then other animals as well. Anyway, so now considering the themes, so we can like take some themes out of that poem, right? So some of these themes are mentioned here. So we'll discuss them in detail. So first one is exploration of nature. The poem reflects on the beauty and mystery of the river Nile, juxtaposing its mythical significance with its natural reality. So mythical and the historical nature versus the natural river. So, then Keats uses Nile as a metaphor for the dual nature. So these two aspects can be taken as a dual nature of beauty, and it is idealized and also grounded in the poem. So anyway, so the poem explores nature in two different ways. So then historical and cultural significance. The Nile represents more than just a river. For Keats, it is the foundation of civilization tied to the Egyptian gods and myths, and also it's simply a river that sustains life in an arid landscape. Then romanticism versus reality. So Keats begins by romanticizing the Nile, but then he reflects on its true nature, suggesting that idealization must give way to a grounded understanding of nature's power and purpose. So his main intention is to understand nature's power and purpose in this poem, right? So then we'll understand the philosophical reflection here, which is also a very important aspect in this poem. So nature and reality. So we'll discuss it before as well, but we'll see. So the poem explores the gap between how humans perceive nature and the reality of its existence. While the Nile is romanticized, he ultimately suggests that true beauty lies in understanding nature's practical and life-giving role, not just its mythical significance. So then, romantic ideals. Keats challenges the traditional romantic view of nature as purely magnificent by incorporating a realistic, grounded perspective into the Nile. So then we come to the structure and form of the poem. So the poem follows a Petrarchian sonnet style. Then this is written in the traditional form with 14 lines, and the rhyming scheme is ABBA, ABBA, CDE, CDE. So understand it from the like African style. Well, you can like put these the same and trying to understand the came later. Then the turn in the sonnet occurs after the first 8 lines, which is octave, where Keats shifts from admiring the Nile's mythological grandeur to a more practical view of it as a river that sustains life. So what is more important and what is highlighted here is the practical view of it as a river, not just as a mythological grandeur. Right, then we come tone and the mood. So tone of admiration is very identical here, right? The poem begins with the tone of reverence for the Nile, marveling at its ancient history and mythological status. Then it shifts to reflection later as the poem progresses, and it becomes more reflective and grounded, questioning the idealized view of nature. So that idealized Nile versus the real Nile, right? So then the mood moves from awe to contemplation, suggesting a philosophical realization about nature's true essence. So that's about the tone and mood. Now we'll discuss about the literary devices. So personification. So Keats personifies the river Nile as a god-like figure. That's why he addresses it in in a sacred way, in a reverence way, right? Giving it human qualities such as chain of pyramids and crocodile. So it is personified here, chief. This elevates the river to a mythical status. Then imagery. So this imagery paints a picture of both its majestic and ordinary aspects. So we'll discuss this imagery in detail later, but then we come to the contrast. The poem contrasts the idealization of Nile as a mythical entity with its reality as a natural, life-sustaining river. So then, allusion. The poem refers to ancient civilization, specifically the Egypt civilization. So I said earlier we'll discuss in detail about this imagery and symbolism. So the fertility and barrenness. So Keats contrasts images of fertility with those of barrenness, reflecting both the life-giving aspects of the Nile and the harsh realities of the surrounding desert. I said earlier there are images to deserts as well. See, a desert fills up a scene's inward span. So then we do find a contrast there as well. Like river and a desert. So then that means fertility and barrenness. Then mythical imagery. The river is personified as a chief of pyramids and crocodiles, invoking ancient Egyptian myths and the grandeur of the past. Then realistic imagery. Keats presents the Nile not only as a mythological wonder, but as a river that nurses the land, bringing it down to earth as a life-sustaining force. So that's about the literary devices. So then we'll summarize the poem and the facts we learned. So to the Nile offers a meditation on the dual nature of beauty, both idealized and realistic. Keats uses the Nile as a symbol to explore broader themes of nature, history, and human perception. The poem's reflection on nature's power and human idealization resonates with modern environmental concerns, making it timeless. Then, Keats leaves readers with a message that while it is natural to admire the mythological or idealized aspects of nature, true appreciation comes from acknowledging its real and practical significance. So this is the most important part of this poem. Like he highlights the real and practical aspects of the river over this mythological and idealized aspects. So then I want you to answer these questions by yourself. If you have any questions, please do ask them in the comment section so I can answer your questions later, right? So my first question is, what do you think Keats is trying to say about the human tendency to romanticize nature? So, like, what's his message, right? How does To the Nile compare to other romantic poems that idealize nature? Is Keats offering a critique? It's up to you to select the other romantic poems, right? And compare it with To the Nile. Then third question is, in what ways does Keats connect the historical and natural significance of the Nile in the poem? So with that, we come to the end of our session. So let's